Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Chatting Breeze. Happy New Year to one and all, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas. We are back in the new year, starting things strong with an excellent episode from a man like DJ CDQ. Good friend of mine, CDQ. You'll know him if you know the label from the various releases we have had in the past, from Illegal Edits 1 right through to the recently released Illegal Edits 3. You can now grab from over on our Bandcamp if you haven't checked that already. Wicked guy, super interesting, does loads and loads of different stuff, super musically talented and knowledgeable. I won't lie, I was quite out of my depth on this one, in a good way though. He's a very knowledgeable guy, and he does loads of different super interesting things. There is an extra half an hour to this conversation, as there always is, over on our Patreon if you join the Belters Club for £5 a month. On top of that, you get all of our tunes sent straight to you on our Patreon at least 2 weeks before the release of any given project. There would be some stuff going up there soon, actually, from some exciting projects we have coming up that I cannot wait to share with you. Other than that, I'll leave you now. I've been blabbering on for just about long enough. Get comfy, put the kettle on, get a nice cup of Rosie Lee, and enjoy this conversation with myself and DJ CDQ. See you on the other side, suckers. Right, round 2, CDQ.
Round 2.
Let me get my beer. Oh, for all those listening at home, this is the second attempt to record this episode of this podcast. CDQ came round. This must have been like this time last week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think last Monday, I think.
Yeah. And basically, I fucked it up. And I got the recording back, sat down, was getting all comfy in bed. This arm is just, I need to sort this out before we start recording because this is pissing me off. I need to get, fucking hell.
Right.
I need to get comfortable for me to be in... in the conversation zone, you know?
There we go.
Also, I have got a bit of a cough, so if I'm like coughing into the microphone, basically just get over it. I sat down all comfy in bed, about to listen to this wonderful episode we just recorded, and it basically sounded like it had been recorded through like a bum hole. And it was just awful. So we're back. We have returned. I fixed the issue, I think.
Yeah.
The waveform's looking a lot tastier now, to be fair.
It does look a lot better.
It does look much tastier.
Yeah.
I'm just going to turn you up a touch. Give me
Lovely.
a little. Go on.
All right, 1, 2, 1, 2.
There we go. Yeah. There we go.
Perfect. Right, when I start shouting later, you want to turn it down.
I always clip at the start of every episode. I always fucking clip the mic straight away. Anyway,
right.
CDQ, how the devil are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you, mate. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad at all.
Go on, get it on the mic, crack it open on the mic. Oh,
lovely.
Nice. There we go.
Perfect. I'm a little bit annoyed because the fade was a lot better last week.
Oh, damn.
You know, I guess we just got to get on with it now.
We've swapped because I got a fresh trim yesterday, actually.
Right, yeah. So, this was all part. I know what it was. The recording was fine. It was the trim that you didn't like.
That's what happened. I saw you. I was like, I can't be getting out trimmed on the podcast like this. Jesus Christ.
Right.
So, if you're a friend of the label, which I suppose you probably are listening to this, you'll know CDQ through his various releases he's had with us, and also probably through the multitude of releases he's put out himself. I'd say you're primarily bootleg focused in your productions currently.
Definitely. Yeah.
But you've been releasing a few originals, right?
Yeah. That's something that I'm sort of like planning to do a little bit more of, because bootlegs are fun and gets the clicks and the downloads.
Yeah.
But originals definitely next year.
I feel that. I think that's a trajectory that I'm finding a lot of people might be taking at the minute.
Yeah.
Why that is, is I guess a mystery.
I think it just helps grow the SoundCloud so much more. But definitely next year that's my aim. More original content.
Do you find this a bit harder to make originals than it is to make bootlegs?
Easily.
You don't just have to like slap a vocal on top or whatever.
Yeah, but my way is always start with the vocal and then make the rest of the tune around it. So that's always been my thing, is remixing a vocal. It's almost like a collab with somebody. So that's kind of the way I've always done it. But
Wait, so you just put the vocal in and I guess like time stretch it to wherever you want and then you just go from there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah, that's always been the way I've done it, and it feels like I'm doing a remix for like Mariah Carey.
Yeah,
or whoever,
exactly.
You know,
yeah.
rather than just slapping it on at the end, which I do sometimes. But yeah, usually it's first thing I do.
Mariah Carey as well. Have you done a Mariah Carey?
I've done a couple. I just did
Have you? Oh,
yeah,
you're turning yourself down a bit.
Yeah, I can see it a bit loud. Yeah, I've done a couple. I did one with you, Emotions, on
Is that
Illegal
Mariah
Edits
Carey?
too. It's a
You
Mariah
see, I
Carey.
don't. This is the thing. You send me tunes with vocals, and I just fucking post them. Sometimes I've done this before, right? When I've been releasing bootlegs.
Yeah.
And like someone sent me, and I really wanted to release it, but I don't actually know what the tune is. So
Yeah.
I'll just Google the lyrics and be like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's a bootleg of that classic tune we all know.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I've got a couple of hers as well. There's another one, like the Busta Rhymes remix that I did with her. I Know What You Want.
Yes, I keep
like-
that. I never remember the name of that one, but it's the one with the orange cover. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll put it just behind us here.
Yeah. Will we? Wow. Budget's gone up.
Come
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
sir. Come on. I guess a good place to start with these things is from the beginning.
Yeah.
When did you first? I mean, have you always been like a musical guy? Like going back, when's the first time you can remember being like really interested in music?
Yeah, so definitely. Yeah, I mean, there's pictures of me as a kid when I had like a little like toy guitar and like I was always like just wanted to have a band, and like performing was like the thing that I really loved to do. And even if I couldn't really perform anything, just strumming like a plastic guitar, like, so yeah, from very young, like I was always obsessed with that. And like then I learned guitar as well growing up, so guitar was the first like musical thing that I was doing.
Oh, so you're actually musically talented then? You're not just like pressing buttons on a computer.
Wow. Yeah, there's a lot of that as well. There's a lot of guessing. But yeah, so I guess you could maybe say there's a bit of musical knowledge there somewhere. But not as much as it might seem, definitely. But
I think it probably underpins a lot of what you do, though, like in terms of like, your approach to things.
Yeah, I think like all of my music is very like focused on like harmony and like chords, and like that's the most important thing for me in music is like good harmony. I mean, I like my bangers as well, like just silly stuff, but I think definitely like harmony and chords and stuff is like really what I love. So yeah, but yeah, from a young age, definitely like learnt piano as well, and I had like this piano thing, like this Yamaha thing, and you can like play a few different like demo songs on it. And I remember like when I was, I don't know, maybe 10-ish, 11, I would take it around the house and I would like pretend I was like on tour, but like but like at the same time like a radio producer. So I'd be like, and this song is this one here, and I'd have like a little mic on it, just performing to like no one in the room, basically. Like take it to the to lounge, and then in my room, and then just like on the stairs.
Good.
So
I love it.
That was like my first tour, basically.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Nothing's
changed. Yeah, still very much empty rooms.
Oh no, I didn't mean that.
Yeah. So yeah. So always obsessed with that kind of thing, and then I guess from there as well, like, I don't know, have you ever see like those Launchpad videos back in the day? Do you know what a Launchpad is?
You'll have to describe it.
It's like it's like a I don't know, like a slab of buttons basically, and every button you press is associated with a sound.
Right,
that's in
okay.
Ableton.
Like a push.
Like a yeah, exactly like a push. Push is like the upgrade of the Launchpad. And I remember watching this guy called Madian, who's like a French producer, and he did this thing where he like did a pop culture mashup, it's called.
Right.
It's a classic video on YouTube. You gotta look it up. It's got like 20 million.
Put it behind us.
Yeah, it's got a crazy amount of views. But I remember watching him do that, and I was like, that is amazing. Like he'd do all this mashup with all these different pop songs, and it just sounded incredible, like to me back then. Like it was epic, bro. And this was when I was like 15 and like my
So what, he was like pressing that and it would play like...
Yeah.
I can't even think of like classic pop tunes now.
Wow, there was all sorts of shit in there. There was like loads of Madonna, like Ellie Goulding. But like when he played it all together with the backing track as well, it actually sounded really good.
Oh, so he just had vocal samples on it?
I think it was more than that. I think he had like clips of the songs as well. So it was a bit of everything. All of it was in key, sounded sick. So watching that blew my 15-year-old brain.
Oh yeah,
I was like, this is fucking crazy, man. I gotta get me a Launchpad. So put it on my Christmas list and was blessed with getting one. And then it came with like a download of Ableton Lite as well. So that was when I was about maybe 16. I was like, yeah, that's when I first got Ableton. And then I realized that it's not just a box that you just press and it just does all that stuff that Madian did. Like you actually
it doesn't come preloaded with the Madonna and Ellie Goulding
and all those 6 samples that you had, like Justice and Daft Punk and everything. Like you actually have to do that yourself. And I was like, okay, right, okay, shit, right. Actually,
keep the receipt, Mum.
yeah, send it back. Really. So after that day, I don't think I ever touched that thing again, and just got completely stuck into Ableton and figuring out how to do that. And I did use it occasionally, but yeah, really it was from then on, it was just how to make those sounds that he was making. Because just fell in love with it really, and hated it a lot. But at the same time,
that's the journey though, isn't it?
That's the journey. Yeah. Anyone who says they love it all the time's lying.
So you've been producing for the best part of like a decade then?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe over 10 years at this point. Yeah,
goodness me.
Maybe 11 years.
When you were starting out, did you kind of go at it thinking like, because you were coming at it from a raw perspective of just kind of wanting to, for lack of a better phrase, like dick around with your launch and do all these sort of things. Were you trying to make like tunes initially as well as that, or?
Yeah, it definitely was like original music was like one of the things I wanted to do. So early on, it would be like sort of copying artists that I was really into at the time, which was obviously like your Skrillex and Diplo.
It was way back then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Of course.
That was like the original like sort of Diplo had this label called Mad Decent. And I remember like stumbling across that and just really liking that sound, like very trap focused, but and like Bauer as well. Like he obviously did the Harlem Shake, so that
Is
guy.
that who that is? Okay.
Yeah. But he had a lot of really like sick beats at that time that was kind of trappy, but not like really obnoxious trap. It was like, I don't know, really good. I think it still holds up today, like his early stuff.
Harlem Shake. Oh, careful on that. Harlem Shake's a classic now.
I love the Harlem Shake, man. It's so good.
It's so funny. Those are your original musical inspirations, is like Skrillex and Harlem Shake.
Nothing cool at all. But yeah, I mean, that was sort of my exposure to electronic music, definitely.
Yeah.
Before that, it was all like Jimi Hendrix and that kind of guitar-y stuff.
Yeah. Do you still play at all?
Yeah, play all the time. Like, with Vuku, and I do like.
Of course, yeah.
I get it in my productions a little bit.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you like put that into tunes?
I write with it, but it doesn't normally end up on the final recording.
How does that work then? Like, what's the process there?
I guess I'll just sit with like a vocal, or I don't know, just maybe completely from scratch, just playing like guitar chords until something kind of sounds right.
Just sort of like jamming, and then you get an idea, and then you translate that into a tune.
Yeah. Especially with the kind of R&B, jazzier chord structures, like all of that comes from my guitar writing, basically.
Interesting. So. You find that kind of helps. I guess it's all about just like your individual process, isn't it? Like finding out what helps get you in that sort of creative headspace. Yeah. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Like maybe it's a more like tactile way of doing things.
Yeah. I think there's nothing like less inspiring for me than like looking at like a blank MIDI clip and like it's just too many options. Whereas like with guitar, I kind of know where I'm going with it. I know like the chord patterns and stuff like that. So it helps definitely just to break down that barrier of creating something. You're not looking at a completely blank page.
100%.
Because that is the worst part. Always.
Yeah, I can imagine. Obviously, I've never, but I can imagine.
I heard that one tune that you sent me a long time ago.
When was that?
That was a long time ago. That was a few years ago.
Is that the one I made with Joe?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't even. You know, I was chatting to Joe about that tune the other day. I can't even remember a single part of it.
It was breaky.
There you go.
So I remember
heavy sampling, probably. Heavy sampling.
I had an Audio Jungle tag in there somewhere.
Was there?
No. Taking a piss.
Audio Jungle. That's a classic. Were you studying music at the time, or were you just sort of doing it in your spare time?
I did like my GCSE and then A level in music. So I was doing a bit of that, but the kind of stuff that we were doing in GCSE was like, it was like really serious, like notation stuff, like serialism. Probably people, if they're not into
Yeah,
like classical music, you don't know about
I've
that.
got
But
no idea, yeah.
it's like just the worst genre ever. Like if you listen to
That's a
serialism,
genre, serialism.
serialism is kind of its own genre, and it doesn't make sense. You're just mashing a load of stuff together, and it was nothing was like interesting about that for me. So
Yeah.
and nothing was really interesting in school at all either. So I'd spend most of my time just on Ableton. Really, that was my.
While you were at school?
Fortunately for my academic studies, I didn't have a laptop at the time. I had a
Yeah.
desktop. If I had a laptop, I would have just been on it all day, just making Ableton. So that was yeah. So I did have a bit of a background in music.
Yeah.
But wouldn't say it dramatically helped me my productions at all. Yeah.
Until I guess then I guess when you went to university, it kind of turned into more of like a sort of learned process for electronic stuff, right?
Definitely.
Because you went to Bath. Spa.
Bath Spa, yeah. I did the music tech course over there, which seemed like just the only thing I really wanted to do, like looking at all my options. And yeah, very glad I did it in the end. There's some great like lecturers there. One of them ran the Tectonic Recordings label, which is like an old like dubstep label from Bristol.
I do actually, yeah.
Paul Yebenassim. So it was cool. It was some good like industry insights and made you think a bit more like why you're doing it rather than just how. Because when I joined the course, I was like, I'm finally going to learn how to do all these crazy
I'm going to be able
sounds.
to make bangers.
And it's not that at all. Like I try and tell people now, like it's not that. That is not what music tech uni is about. It's more about thinking why you're doing it, which sounds a bit wanky, but it is important.
Yeah, no.
To have some like purpose in what you're doing. And yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
Why Bath Spa?
Just totally random. I was meant to go to Stoke, and then
Stoke.
Yeah, and nothing against Stoke, but
here we go.
On my when I got my grades in, like obviously I got into the uni, but then I just kind of thought, I don't know about Stoke. So I was like, okay, let's have a look. What else I can do? Got into Bath Spa and clearing. And,
nice.
Yeah, I was quite lucky.
Thank God. Oh my God, dude, imagine if you'd gone to Stoke.
Yeah, I'd probably still be living in the north as well. I wouldn't be in the south.
No offense at all, but I cannot imagine you living up north.
Well, I mean, I grew up north, I guess, in some ways, if you count North Wales as north.
But come on, North Wales.
Yeah. The north has its gems, but yeah, no, I think I don't know. I just was thinking about it, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe let's have a serious think about this for a minute. Anyway, let's get past the Stoke slander. Let's not do that. We should move on. Definitely.
That's a clip for the Instagram right there.
Yeah. I better not. Stoke massive will be down here. Ended up coming to Bath.
Nice.
And I couldn't be more glad that I made that choice because Bath and Bristol connection is just great as well. Like
you mentioned the last time we tried to record this.
Yeah.
That it was you did the same course as a few other successful producers, DJs, sort of things.
Yeah. I think like Time Dance.
That was the one.
Basically born in the creative music tech course. Like Batu went to my course, and then so did Bruce as well.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some more of those guys. I don't want to say any more names because I'm not sure about the others, but there's some more of them.
Not sure as in
I don't know if they went there.
Oh, not sure as in like,
another sneak diss.
First Stoke.
Don't want to give them the publicity.
Now it's like the fucking DJ scene.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, he's come to kill on this podcast. He's out for blood.
Yeah.
So what was Bath like musically then? I guess not even just in terms of like dance music and raving, but like just music in general. Was there like did it feel like quite a musical place to live and to study?
Yeah, in some ways. I mean, on the campus, like my uni's like pretty much creative uni. Like the main thing they do is like the arts, so like drama and theatre and everything. So, and they had a nice recording studios like sort of built there as well, which is nice. So when you're in the uni, definitely. I think the city doesn't quite have the music scene that Bristol has. That's like for sure. Like there's no debate around that. Like Bath's live scene is not maybe what it was. I think a lot of people say like it used to be really great 80s and 90s. It was like a real like proper scene. Yeah, and like every big band you can think of, like Oasis, whatever, they've all played in the venues in Bath, like on
Really?
their come up, like all of those sort of from around that time. And yeah, I don't know, it kind of had the issue of like, even venues back then, they were closing. Like the Nest was somewhere that I went to and played at a lot, and that was like a bit of an institution where you'd hear really different things, and they'd book like big artists like randomly, like Flux Pavilion, like
Really?
played a set there.
Strange.
This was sort of like in the peak of his popularity. It was
Yeah,
back
yeah.
then, like 2015-ish, when I was in uni. God, that's a long
God,
time.
you're
ago.
old.
Yeah, so we'd have like some really big international artists come
Wicked.
and play at those venues. So you did have a bit of a taste of all sorts of different music. You'd hear all sorts of different things in Bath, which was nice. Good exposure.
How what was sort of venue size? Like, were they all pretty like small to medium size, or were there any like larger sort of venues?
There was one called Comedia, or there is one. It's
Oh
still
yeah,
there.
no, yeah.
That's definitely a bigger one. I don't know how many you'd fit in
That's
there.
more of like correct me if I'm wrong, more like a theatre sort of venue there,
It
right?
is, but they do like raves there all the time.
Do
Like,
they?
they had like Sammy Virgie there the other week.
Did they?
Yeah. So they always did raves. Like I saw My New Lang there once, and that was like sort of one of my first like exposures to like bass music, really, because it wasn't what on my horizon at the time. But seeing them in like my first week probably in Bath Spa, I think it was.
See, they've been knocking around for a while as well.
They
haven't
have
they?
been, yeah. They've been around forever, really.
sorry,
There is a bit of a scene, but it's not quite anything near Bristol, that's for sure. But it's it's a smaller city, and
It is significantly smaller, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a town. No,
I think it is a city.
is it?
Yeah, they got a cathedral.
Sorry, Bath. Sorry.
Yeah. Technically,
They're coming for me. Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So you're there for a few years. 3 years, I presume. So that was your uni degree.
Yeah.
Did you sort of find, like regardless of the scene itself, I always find that there can often be a difference between like the scene that's happening within a city at large, and then like micro scenes that are sort of operating within it, in terms of like, I guess in terms of like your network that you had, like your friends you were with. Did you find like a group of you that was sort of trying to push that out there, or?
Yeah, definitely. So I met Louis Navas, who is now, he's from Panama, so he lives there now. I just came back from seeing him actually last month. And yeah, we were like really into like the sort of fusion between like hip hop, R&B, and like futuristic kind of sounds, and then that would be like involved in like house music and trap and like all that kind of stuff. So we run our own nights because there was no scene, but there wasn't a lot of competition for putting on a night.
Right.
Like if you could just convince the club managers to let you do something, and they were a bit picky, so we sort of ran it under this disguise that it was like a classic hip hop night, which it started as, and then it sort of turned into like we'd be playing a lot of remixes of stuff that we'd make, and like some stuff that just wasn't like classic hip hop at all. It would just be like just totally weird beats and stuff. But I think when you start putting it on at like 1 a.m, people have been drinking a lot. They don't really care what's happening in in those kind of venues. Like they just want to, I don't know, hear some music really. So we were just putting on sort of whatever we wanted to at that point.
And it did quite well.
And it did quite well, yeah. We had a long stint at the Nest, and then there'd be some things at like Moles as well, another venue that's literally just shut its doors like last week for good.
R.I.P. man.
R.I.P. Yeah, what is happening to Bath? Honestly,
Well, I feel like it's happening all over, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking crazy at the minute.
It is horrible.
Like venues are really, really struggling at the minute. Like,
Yeah.
obviously you saw a thing with Blue Mountain here before.
Yeah.
And this constant threat on so many different venues.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's fucking ridiculous since COVID.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess Bath is just a good example of that, isn't it? Like, is the Nest still open, or is that gone?
No,
as
Nest
well?
is gone. Yeah,
well,
Nest shut years ago, sadly. Yeah, anyone who's been to Bath knows what I mean. It was the only like decent venue for anything
Really?
interesting. Yeah, and Moles had a few good nights as well.
Yeah. Obviously, like yours, for example. Obviously.
Yeah, especially hip hop
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were doing that with your mate, and that was throughout whilst you were at university.
Yeah, definitely.
When and why did you make the move to Bristol?
I think
Because
just
you went home for a bit first.
Yeah,
right?
I lived at home for a year in between, but I think it just always made sense to come here, like trying to pursue some kind of musical dream. Like I don't even know what I was doing.
Chase the
what it would
dream,
be.
baby.
I just knew I had to be here because I grew up in North Wales,
Yeah.
and there's just not really like much of a music culture there. It's more of an outdoorsy kind of place. So and I like that, but what I wanted to do was chase some sort of like musical dream. I just know as long as I'm near something going on with people who are like interested in doing like creative stuff, then I'm in the right place.
Yeah, for sure.
Even if I don't know what it is yet, there's no further thought beyond that. But yeah, that was sort of what prompted me.
I think that's good though. Like, it's so like coming from like an incredibly rural place to be able to make that step and say like, I like, because you kind of know what you're after, but you have like your perspective on that world is so limited because of where you come from. You sort of don't want to like pigeonhole yourself too much, you know?
Yeah.
So I think coming to a place, like moving to Bristol from somewhere like that, you're not going to have like a plan in mind like straight away anyway.
Yeah,
You
definitely. And I think maybe it's good as well to be open to it, like, and just knowing like if you're just there in the right place, then and you've got the right motivation behind you, then you can sort of make something happen, whatever that is, even if you don't know what it is. It just falls into place.
Yes,
I think.
And it's just about trying lots of different things as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
Like, we've tried things in the past. I mean, like when you came to Bristol, because we met because we both worked together in a cafe.
Yeah.
In my first year at uni.
Yeah. Which we will not mention the name of this time.
Marks and Spencer's Cafe.
Oh, you were so tight on me last time. Not to
Yeah,
mention
well, you know what?
Fuck it.
Yeah, it's if M&S are listening, fuck you. But I'm definitely cutting that out.
Yeah.
So we met when I was working in M&S Cafe in my first year of uni.
Yeah.
And it was you had just moved to Bristol then, right?
Yeah, I'd moved, basically, like, saw a job opening in the M&S there.
Come on. Because you were working the other one.
Yeah. And I saw it open and I was like, well, that's perfect timing. Like, I wanted to move here anyway. And then,
See, that's so funny.
Here.
Me and you were both M&S boys before we came to Bristol.
Yeah.
And then we both got transferred.
Yeah.
Come on. M&S boys.
Yes.
For the audio only listeners, we just fist bumped.
Yes. Just do it louder into the mic.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So we both worked there for a bit and kind of realised we both had an interest in like the music stuff, but my interest was nowhere near like especially the extent it is now, or even like any sort of, I wasn't interested in it to the extent where I was looking to like follow it or even like pursue it as a hobby. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Obviously you were a bit further down the line. You actually had experience with like making music and running nights and things. We tried a couple things, and we tried to run a few nights. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. The early ones just didn't quite happen in the end. It was just hard. I don't know. When I moved here, I was thinking like, I'm going to go the club promoter route. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to run nights and I'm going to start something. But I don't know. It was so hard, like convincing club owners to like let you do anything. Yeah. And I guess my ideas weren't really in line with what Bristol like wants, or maybe what they wanted, which was fine. But we had a couple of ideas that didn't quite come to fruition.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because when you come from Bath to Bristol, you say you had strange sort of experiences with the club owners there, and you had a sort of different sort of experience with them here. Yeah, like it's tough. Because they're so, the strange thing is about Bristol and Bath is that I just hit the fucking thing. They're so close to each other. Yeah. Yet like so vastly different in terms of like, their nightlife culture. Yeah, definitely. And like when I was in Bath as well, like part of what I was running as well was like a couple of like really commercial nights as well, like just purely very like pop focused stuff. But you know, it was just, I got in with the crew who were like doing it, and it was fun still to do those kind of things. So I was trying to do that here as well, just to sort of like make some money. But I don't know, it feels like, again, like the scope for doing that here is quite limited because a lot of the venues have that on lock already. Like we tried to do something with Gravity Oh yeah.
And it just didn't sell enough tickets. We sold like, we were like promoting it really hard, like giving out flyers and everything. We were like, this is going well. We've sold like, 30 tickets or something like that. And we're like, we'll get walk up on the night, we're fine. And then the manager messaged us like a couple of days before, and he was like, so how many tickets have you sold? Expecting us to be like around 500. Like that's what they wanted before they would open. And we're like, we sold like 30, but we're confident it'll pick up. So they just cancelled it on the spot, which was like kind of gutting, but also like made you realize like what you need to do in order to run like a commercial club night here. It's a big step up from doing it in Bath. So I think it kind of changed what I was doing then, and what I realized I kind of wanted to do as well, because my heart isn't in running like commercial club nights, even though it was fun and it would be a bit of money as well in it. But it wasn't where my heart was, and there's kind of no point in forcing it if it doesn't want to happen here,
Would you ever look at getting back into doing the promoting side of things?
Yeah, I've had a lot of thoughts about running my own night, I think, and not just so I can book myself as a DJ. So, like,
that's only half the reason.
Yeah, I mean, with the stuff I do with Vuku, which we can get onto later as well, that is definitely a lot of that is running nights. As well. So,
it's a larger group. It's quite large, quite a big group.
It is big. Now we've got about 12 people actually running it. But yeah, I met those guys through Facebook, and they just needed help like running an open mic night a couple of years ago, and now it's just like gone so much bigger. Like we're doing so much coming up this year.
You guys do that kind of like, it's sort of that sort of fusion between live music and DJing, right? It sort of straddles that line quite nicely, I think. Yeah,
exactly. We've had a few all DJ nights, but we mostly do a band, headline band, and then we'll have like, however many DJs that night, usually like 2 or 3. And we do it like South Bank and Old Market Assembly a lot as well. So 2 really nice venues.
2 great venues for live music, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. And it all just glues quite well together, and we're just trying to find like the right boundary between like finding like a live act that works with the DJs afterwards as well, and then finding DJs that work with the live act as well. There's a lot to like consider in how it all ties in. And I'm one of their resident DJs as well. So often I like take over after a band and like cater my set towards transitioning between whatever their genre was into like electronic stuff afterwards. So it's really cool, and everyone who runs it is really lovely. And
do you find a difference in promoting live music as opposed to promoting like purely DJ focused nights?
Yeah, I think so. I think like you're tapping into a different audience. I think like the live music audience. I think there's a lot more about the individual like act itself. Like you're sort of telling the story of like the band more so. I think that's more what it's about. It's less about just the vibe of the night. It's more about like, these are the people who are involved, and like, this is why they're great, and this is why you should come and see them. So it's sort of like giving them a platform more so than when I was running the other nights, and it would be like, this is just going to be a vibe, and like, these guys are great, it's going to be cool.
Sorry, one sec.
Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
Which one's easier?
I don't know. I think they both have their challenges, but I think like I like promoting or helping to promote the nights that are more about the acts themselves. I think I find that a bit easier personally, but you've got to like have an act with like a lot of material to promote and everything like that. So it does depend on the act, definitely. And I think like bands, naturally they'll be doing a lot more like press photos and like recorded videos and live stuff. So that's a bit easier, maybe, I think, for me. But
there goes another bit of soundproofing.
We need a camera just on that to
actually. That's actually a really good idea. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because as much as they are both just like, you are just trying to sell tickets to an event, it's a completely different audience, I find. Yeah. But I think what puts you guys with Vuku in such a unique position is that you kind of have the best of both worlds. Yeah. Like, I've played a Vuku night before.
You played a couple of ours.
Like one of my first ever bookings was the one at the Lansdowne.
Yeah. I wasn't there that day,
No, you
unfortunately.
weren't.
But yeah, it looks sick.
I was so
Yeah.
nervous because I like didn't really have any bookings before that.
Yeah.
I was so nervous turning up.
Oh, that's crazy.
So that
yeah.
I needed my CDG there to hold my hand.
Oh man. yeah. God.
But
Yeah.
I guess the point that I'm trying to make is that as much as you are selling tickets, like the audience is different. What even is like the Vuku sort of audience? Because like you say, like it's not quite live, it's not quite DJ, it's like somewhere in the middle. Do you find that there is like a refined audience for that, or do you think, I don't know, maybe that's what puts you in like a more unique position with those guys?
Yeah, I think the really nice thing, so we've built up like a bit of a following now, so we've got like this core group of people who will come to everything and are like my friends as well, like you know, we'll go over for their birthdays and stuff.
Nice.
And like one of us just left recently from Bristol to go traveling for a year, and we had like a leaving party and like a meal and everything. So you know, these and then we met them just because they came to our nights and they
That's
just
sick.
happened to speak to us. And so it's so the core group, I mean, and the people who come to the events, I think it's just like an openness for anything. Like it's definitely more focused on like, you know, soul and funk and disco, like those kind of genres go really well with our nights. But like people come and play like garage and jungle and like house and pretty much everything like Bristol is known for, like DJ wise, will happen at our events as well. It's not just like, you know, live music-y focused stuff, you know. I guess the unique thing is definitely that the audience is really up for anything, which I don't think you get that too often, you know. They will like hang around for like a rock and roll band, and then the next DJ's playing like disco, and then the closer's playing like jungle, and it sounds really bad, but it works on the night. Like even though the genres are different, we find a way of like blending from each one. Like I took over after the rock and roll band, and my first opening song was like Daft Punk Robot Rock. Like I completely catered my set around what the band was doing to sort of transition into the clubbier stuff, but not like straight away with a speed garage like Warper.
Of course,
like, you kind of got to think about it a bit more, I think, as a DJ. But
would you say that that's the approach that you take to your sets in general? Because like it's so interesting in terms of how different people prepare. Because like personally, I might make a playlist, but I'm not like thinking about sort of the order or anything like that.
Yeah.
How far do you go with that sort of thing?
I'll rehearse a little bit, and what I try to get is like 3 or 4 like track combinations that I know just work, like if it's key or tempo as well, like some, you know, just finding like tracks that I know will transition really nicely. So but yeah, I try and like obviously keep the genre kind of consistent, but also like I'm considering like which kind of genres I'm going to be moving through in the night. Like I did The Crown for Club Cortex's night, and I opened with like a Biley funk tune, and then I knew I wanted to play.
Is it Biley or By? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it looks like it. Phonetically.
I thought it was like Bail.
Right. Anyway, I played a funk tune, and then I knew that I wanted to like transition from there into like sort of the clubby Brazilian stuff, and then so I definitely do say I think about it a lot. I don't do like loads of sets, so when I do one, I want it to be like it really makes sense and like everything flows really well. If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You are one of the most like meticulously professional DJs I know. I would say.
Thank you, man. That's constantly being meticulous. That's
lots of hours behind the decks. Maybe?
There has been a lot. Yeah. That aren't like, you know, the kind of DJ CDQ bookings.
Sure. Yeah.
Like
I
do a lot of the like commercial bar gigs and stuff like that. It's kind of my bread and butter. Like I've been doing that forever, like since I was in Wales. So
you're doing it in Wales as well?
Yeah. So we convinced the club owner there to let us run a night, and I was just the DJ the whole night.
You've been convincing a lot of club owners.
Yeah, there's an art to it. There's an art, definitely. You really got to sell it to them and talk about the monetary profit
I was going to say, how are you selling a club night to a club owner?
One way that I've recently like well, actually, I've always sort of used this. It's like if you try and calculate how many people you think are going to come in, and then times that by like how many drinks you think they're going to buy, and if you can give the club owners some kind of calculation like that where they can see it, because I think these people who run businesses work on numbers rather than like, this will be a vibe, bro. Like, I swear to God, like it's going to be crazy, man. Like there's, you know, they don't, that doesn't work for them. They're like, okay, that's great, but like, are we going to make a profit? Can I pay, you know, to keep the lights on? So if you can give them some kind of cost breakdown where you're like, this is how much we usually do, like that kind of thing really helps, I think, putting nights on. And Zeb from Dual Monitor is like, that's one of his tips that I took that really helps. So
it's so annoying when club owners don't just let you put a night on because it's going to be a vibe.
Exactly. Just put it free entry, you know, like easy. Yeah. Get a load of sick jungle DJs in, it'll be mad. Yeah. But
jungle DJs, come off it. Jesus Christ. So you obviously you run these nights with Vuku. Have you ever thought about, I don't know why we're talking so much about promoting, but I guess I'd sort of, like obviously I've known you for many years, and I'd never really thought about you as much of a promoter, but it is quite a core part of what you do and what you have done in the past.
Yeah, I've always kind of seen it as a bit of a necessary evil in order to, like, I don't know, in order to play at first. Yeah. Because when you start, you're not getting bookings, so you kind of have to put your own nights on. So that was sort of how I did that.
That's good advice.
Yeah, always. If you're starting out as a DJ, put your own nights on. Like, it's always going to be the best way. To get some bookings, definitely. I don't know. I think like, so you're like asking me like, would I do my own thing kind of?
Yeah.
I had a lot of ideas and just trying to glue something down that's really original, because I don't ever want to do something that's just because, you know, copying anything else or I don't know, just for the sake of it. I want it to have like a purpose. And I guess like the problem with that of trying to think of something that's really original is that you never end up quite doing it. Yeah, you can think about it forever. So it might have to be something that's a bit derivative, you know, that takes from something else. But I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I need to find an original angle on it.
What is an original idea nowadays, though? You know what
it's
I mean?
hard.
One of those things.
It's really hard, like especially in music. Like, and I don't think like originality is everything in music. I think being authentic to yourself, that's the thing that I strive for more so than ever being like completely original. Trying to be completely original, like it, I don't know. It's cool to have influences. You know,
you make
like
bootlegs for fuck's sake.
Fucking hell, yeah. Clearly, clearly, I'm not too fussed on being original. But yeah, it's something that I'm still thinking about that I'd love to do.
Would you do that under like the CDQ sort of moniker, like with using that influence?
I think it could be at this point. Yeah. My influencer status, you know.
Come on.
Like, I don't know. It could be. Yeah, it could be something separate though. I think building something separate would be cool.
Because you've had loads of different aliases and names and projects, right?
Yeah.
Like before CDQ, because CDQ started through Illegal Edits 1. That was your first CDQ release. And before that, you were Cruise Control, right?
That's right.
In fact, you were Cruise Control when we announced Illegal Edits 1.
Yeah.
Because if I go back on my Instagram, the first announcement post we made for the first Illegal Edits, you were called Cruise Control.
It still says it on there,
But you were making more sort of like beats stuff with that, weren't you?
Lo-fi, hip-hop stuff. That was what I was, that's what I was kind of making at the time. Or like maybe not so much lo-fi, but just hip-hop based stuff. And then before that, it was like disco. That was my thing, like making like new disco stuff.
Did you have an alias for that? Or?
Yeah, I did. And you know what the name is. I've
actually
say it again.
Forgotten.
All right. Well, it was Jibby.
There it is.
If you look it up on SoundCloud, you can find some shit out there.
Jibby.
I had a couple of releases out there somewhere.
Nice.
They're still up there. And sometimes I listen to them, I'm like, these are trash, but at the times I listen and I'm like, nah, they were kind of all right actually. So that was my disco days.
Disco era.
Yeah. So there's been a few incarnations of like what I wanted to release over the years, but I think I've settled now. For now. Yeah.
Of course, there's no point pinning yourself down, but I feel like the CDQ one has worked quite well for you. The Cruise Control one was doing well as well. Right. You had a couple of releases with one or two labels, right?
Yes. A Bristol label here, and it was more like the SoundCloud, the Spotify focused stuff of trying to get into like the Spotify like editorial playlist. Right. Like that was like the whole point of that world of hip hop is just like try and get a placement on these labels. So there's a lot of like, I don't know, industry like tactics in order to do that, and you're like aiming your music to land on a playlist. Like if you go on YouTube, like you'll see like tutorials of people showing you how to make a hip hop beat that will end up on a playlist.
What?
And the reason for that is because if it ends up on one of these playlists, like a Spotify playlist, you get more streams because people just put it on in the background.
People will be
more
playing
money
in cafes and,
exactly.
and things.
So it's like a business decision to try
That's
and
so
make that
interesting.
music.
Yeah. There's a whole like subgenre of just like what is essentially background music, right?
Exactly. It's a modern day ambient music.
What are some of the things people that they say to do to make sure that your tune gets put in these playlists?
Well, I've never tried to do it.
Yeah.
But I think it's to do with like structure and like you don't want your song to be this too long and you want like this kind of like vibe to it, like very mellow, not much of a strong melody going on.
Yeah.
Like it's the instrument choice, that kind of thing that will fit in those playlists and will have some marketing intern somewhere like click on it and go, yeah, that'll be all right, stick it in the editorial playlist, you know, like it's a whole like, yeah, a whole genre is being catered towards getting on a playlist, which is kind of worrying. But like at the same time,
definitely.
I don't know. It's a funny one. So I kind of wanted to get out of that world of worrying about that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the labels that I had worked with were also quite focused on that. And I knew that wasn't what I cared about, was trying to appease an algorithm or, you know, try and like fit in with what everyone else was doing necessarily.
Yeah.
To get, you know, into the playlist and stuff. That wasn't, but there's nothing in that for me, you know, apart from the money that you get from some streams. But what I really wanted to do was be, I don't know, make some bangers, you know, like, make something that people like to play out. And I love that seeing the DJ culture in Bristol where everyone's playing each other's stuff. Got kind of like the unreleased like tunes that people play out a lot, and like that kind of stuff that just makes sets like unique. That was what I was seeing at the time, and I was like, that's way more interesting to me to do that kind of stuff and make music that makes people move and dance as well, rather than like put on in the background of their cafe.
Well, that's the
which
thing,
is its
isn't
own thing, and I'm not dissing it, but it just wasn't for me in the end.
Why does the playlistification, if that's a word, playlistification,
we'll go with that.
Why does that worry you in terms of people's like consumption habits and the way we consume music?
Well, I don't know. I think that there is always going to be an appetite for original music, so it doesn't worry me in like in the way that I think like, oh, music is dying.
Right.
Like I don't think that at all. There's so many cool artists coming out and blowing up all the time that just are awesome and original, and there's always going to be a hunger for that. I think. But for me, I don't know. It just feels really wrong to focus your creative output on trying to land on a playlist, you know, to be played in the background, to not really be listened to.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's about where that playlist is being played rather than the playlist itself,
and why people are listening to it. And I didn't want to just become part of a noise in the background. Like that doesn't do anything for me.
You don't want to make cocktail party music.
I don't want to do that either. No. You know, I want to do, I don't know. Yeah. So
it's like elevator music, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Muzak, I think they call it, don't they?
Is that what that means? I see that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it means. It's just like sort of generic background music.
That's a good word for it. Yeah, I like that. Muzak. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I definitely don't want to go anywhere near that.
Well, one thing's for certain, your tunes are definitely not generic background music now.
Thank you. I needed to hear that. Thank you. Yeah. There's nothing background about them.
Exactly.
Just generic, loud.
Pure foreground, my friend. Pure foreground.
Thank you, mate.
Speaking of your new alias, we haven't really touched on sort of like the story of that. I guess we have a little bit, but so we released Illegal Alias 1 in, help me out here.
I think it was in April 2021.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Or May. April or May 2021.
Yeah.
I'd actually go with May. Yeah.
And that was the first. You know, it was the first time anyone ever sent me tunes for release. And I said this on the last episode, but I'll say it on the last episode, on the last time we tried to record. But I'll say it again. You sent them to me, and I remember listening to them in my room, and just like I literally almost cried because of like how like I just couldn't believe that someone was sending me music that they wanted me to fucking release. I was like, I remember saying to you like, "Are you sure?" are you sure you're okay with me releasing like this music?
Yeah.
And like it did so fucking well, and like I like obviously that's completely down like to you as like the tunes that you made, but I think it gave me the belief that like that there is potential for that to go somewhere, and it was so nice for us to finally do something together musically that was actually resonating, you know, that would actually like go somewhere. It wasn't like it wasn't like a a club night that we said we were going to start and we never started, or like anything like that. It was it was something actual, and like it was like definitely for me, not to like get or whatever, but like it was definitely like a big stepping stone for me sort of starting the label, and I don't think I'd be doing the label now if it wasn't for you sending me those tunes. What I guess what possessed you to making the switch from the more beats driven stuff to, because like it's not only just the more club focused stuff, but the more like that side of it, like the sort of like, because when the word club focus can mean like so many different things, right? Like what possessed you to go down the route you decided to go down with, like the vocals, the bass driven stuff. I guess you could kind of call it garage, but it doesn't really fit into that sort of niche as much as some other people might. I'm gonna stop talking now.
No, I get what it's a good question for sure. Like I think moving to Bristol definitely made me like more aware of this stuff, more aware of these genres. Like I'd always been aware of like what garage is, and like I don't know, I was always like a YouTube kid, like when I was young, so I'd be diving in YouTube and clicking on all of the like random like music that would be suggested. So got like really into stuff like Miami bass and like electro and stuff. Like so that was what inspired a lot of that EP. Like if you listen to the beats, like they are like International is an electro beat, so is Control. Like that was the first two ones on the EP, and so I was always like listening to that kind of stuff. And then being in Bristol as well, like hearing it more when I was going out, like it makes more sense when you hear it on like a sound system, like you really get it then. Like it was like going to the music tech course. I'd be like studying with like Henry Greenleaf, who's like pretty big techno producer. He's amazing. And because I hadn't had much exposure to that kind of music at the time, I didn't really get it when I was listening to it the first time. But then hearing him play on a system, I was like, okay, I get it now. Like him and his mates from the course like put on this night in Ponana's in Bath, I think it was called. And just hearing like that kind of sound system music, like it was 140 and it was UK bass and breaks and whatever, and it just totally made sense to me from then on. So I'd always had an interest in doing it, and I guess I just finally started like just taking that leap and just trying to do it. And sort of some of it turned out all right. I mean, looking back, those beats don't sound as good now, but it's a sign that you've just grown since then.
I mean, it's been 2.5 years. If you were still making the same the same tunes.
Yeah, exactly. So it was just going out in Bristol, and then just finally like following some of the stuff that I'd always wanted to do as well, and just thinking like, fuck it, like why not? And your interest in this kind of music inspired me as well. Like you were sort of championing that UK sound and like electronic stuff that we were doing. I remember it was a lot of like minimal house that you were into at the time.
Back in the day.
But then there was also like you were sort of like rubbing shoulders with the guys who were making the kind of stuff that I make now as well. So it was like another exposure into like what the music of Bristol is, for us anyway. There's loads of music in Bristol, but the electronic side of it,
of course,
I guess it was just a bit of an attempt to see if I can do that kind of stuff, and it seemed like the right thing to do to release with you as well. It was like kind of two minds are stronger than one. Like neither of us had a platform really at the time, but we both had two sets of mates, so if we both share it with each other's mates, and I knew you had some mates who were into like the DJing and stuff, so it just made sense to sort of like double the exposure of it. And I think because you're saying like gave you the confidence to do belters, but it gave me the confidence to do CDQ completely, because I didn't think that was something that would necessarily like grow, followers, or I don't want to say a fan base, but it grows like an audience, exactly. Grows, like likes and follows and people buying your music and stuff. Like I never thought that would be something I could do, just because it hadn't happened yet, really. I generated streams on Spotify, but it's different to actually growing like people who seem to care about what you're doing and want your music.
No,
you know?
100%. Yeah,
it's completely different. So it gave me the confidence to do it just as much. So yeah, I think it was very mutually like, important, you know?
No, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
It's interesting to see how your sound has developed over the last couple of years as well, because about a year after Illegal Edits 1, we did Illegal Edits 2.
Yeah.
In between that, you had done a few free downloads elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
Like we had done maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, Give Me a Break was one.
Give Me a Break.
I did a Duckland one in there somewhere.
Duckland. In the Deep.
In the Deep as well, yeah. Second release, I think. Yeah.
To name but a few.
Yeah. I think that might be all of them, actually.
And no, you did so many more.
So many more. Too many to count. Yeah.
About a year after the first Illegal Edits, we dropped the second one.
Yeah.
I think it was pretty much bang on a year after, right?
Yeah.
And that one was a paid release.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so gassy. Sorry. That one was a paid release. Obviously, the first one was free download. And you had a much sort of, I would say, larger breadth of music, of like musical like influences and like I guess you could say even like subgenres of dance music throughout that project.
Definitely.
You know, there was a more like electro-y garagey tune. There was like a more like psy sort of trancey tune. There was a drum and bass tune on there.
Yeah.
Do you still dabble in all these different genres, or do you feel like you've sort of honed your style a bit more now?
That's the thing. I don't think I have a style as such.
Yes. Okay.
I think that I have something that comes across in my productions is the chords that I do. Like that's something that I think is something, and the chords and the melody, and I don't know, I think like the way I process things, maybe you can sometimes tell, and maybe that really loud tag that I have as well, you can tell when it's
DJ,
exactly. So I think there's similarities between my productions that are even between the different genres that I'm doing. But yeah, I don't know, it's a funny one because there's so many different genres that I've covered, and before I did the CDQ stuff, I was like I just can't do it. Like I'd hear like jump up or psytrance or techno or whatever, I'd just be like, well, you know, that's what some people do and I do this.
Yeah.
Which is just my genre here, like the hip hop or whatever. But I think doing Illegal Edits 1, I was like, everything just, the doors sort of like blew off. Like I realized I can do anything, and it might not be that good, but I can learn how to do it, and I can just keep practicing, and I will be able to make psytrance if I watch tutorials, because it sounds silly, but it's true. Like it's daunting when you look at like these genres and how good people are at doing them. You feel like you can't do it, but you can if you just like are willing to like take the time and make a lot of really bad tunes.
Yeah.
And I think it's gotten me to a point now where I can sort of listen to any genre and I can figure out like how they're doing it and make a recreation of that, you know, and I have to do that for my work, which is, you know, outside of the CDQ stuff. Like some people know is what I do is like sample pack production. It's like a big part of my sort of income is doing that. And, you know, I'll be given like all sorts of different assignments of genres and stuff like reggaeton, Afrobeat, whatever. I just have to like learn how to do it and just do it. And the minute that I started taking those, I realized that if you really put your mind to it and you just practice and you'd be willing to make the shit beats, you can come out with something good in the end. And yeah, so the second EP, to tie back to that, was like, you know, I loved drum and bass always, you know, like the silly jump up, screechy shit. Yeah, I love all genres.
Come on.
For sure. And I love, you know, there was a garage cut on there. There was the psytrance thing.
Give it to me.
Testing your knowledge. I can't even remember what the other one was. No?
Emotions.
Yeah, Emotions. Yeah, the breaky one.
Yeah.
And that, you know, sometimes those tunes would start by me watching a tutorial. Like the Emotions one was me watching a Bakey tutorial.
Really?
Yeah. It was like how to make his basses. And you can kind of tell like those basses are
it's interesting.
something that he would do maybe. So yeah, I think, it was just like, now it's just, there's no like I don't think about it anymore. I'm not like, oh, well, people might not like it if I make this genre. Like, no, I'm just like, I'll just do whatever I want. Yeah. And it will connect with somebody. Like somebody will like it.
100%.
Hopefully.
It's interesting that you mentioned the sample making thing.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's always good advice to anyone working in the music space is to like always have more than one sort of income stream.
Yeah, definitely.
How long have you been doing that for?
Well, I think since the end of lockdown.
Okay, so a little while then.
It's been a couple of years. I've been fully, doing the music thing, I guess.
Yeah. And like these samples, like you say what, that they just give you like a genre and they say you make like X number of samples using this.
Yeah.
Like for this genre.
Yeah. That's exactly it. So it would be like a lot of it's loops. So they want loops of, guitar keys or like everything all in one, which you'd call like a song starter. So it's like a 16-bar loop where it sort of like builds and you can kind of like chop that out to make a beat, like a frame around that. And depending on which site it is, it could be something very like aimed at beginners where it's really easy for them to like, it's sort of like painting by numbers,
a drag and drop sort of thing.
Yeah. It's all in the same key and they can just drop it in and it will just all work no matter what. Or it could be like more stuff that's more specific. Like it would be very specific, like piano loops or a solo and whatever, or like a vocal stuff that I do with some vocalists now. So it can get more specific, but it can also be quite broad and just drop this in and it'll sound good kind of stuff. So there's a mix of different things I do.
Have you ever found, do you get any knowledge of whether or not people are using your samples?
Yeah, it's funny you say that because
I promise I'm not asking leading questions from last week's recording.
Yeah, funny you mention that. One of my first packs that I released, and it was a UK garage pack, and it featured a lot of my songs that I released. The first sort of 5-6 releases, it was basically just the loops from that because.
As in your first CDQ releases?
Yeah, first CDQ releases, yeah. So it'd be like my original remixes, but without the vocals, basically.
So you're saying is there loops from my tunes?
Not those ones. No, don't you worry. Those free downloads.
How fucking dare they?
Actually, I think some of them were, now that I think about it.
I'm calling my lawyer.
But the ones so anyway, the main ones were the remixes I did, the Destiny's Child, whatever. So it would be like all of the keys, the drums, the whatever. And somebody took the pack, and as they are very in their rights to do, it's all royalty free.
Of course,
I can't be angry
disclaimer.
About it. They took the pack, slapped it together, and made a tune.
Essentially, just dragged and dropped.
Yeah,
like that sort of thing. Yeah,
it's all out of key. There was nothing was in key.
Yeah,
because they were different. They're all different keys. And then they dropped it on Spotify, and I think I showed it to you the other day. I think it's got like something like 300k
at least. I think I have more than that, but
maybe 400. And the worst thing about it all is it ended up on my Discover Weekly.
No.
Like I always listen to my Discover Weekly just to find some new stuff, and it ended up. I was listening to it. I was like, I recognize those chords. I recognize those drums, and I was like, something I've made has been leaked, but no, it was just somebody took the pack.
Congratulations, you've made it to the end of the episode. That was a good one. I really have so much love for CDQ. He was one of the first guys that I sort of got to know through doing the music thing, and yeah, really inspiring for me to see someone that's been at it for so long and knows so much about it. And is still sort of growing and developing in his style and his sound as well. Yeah, overall, great dude. Like I say, if you haven't checked out our recent release with him, Illegal Edits 3, it's over on our Bandcamp now. I wish we'd spoken about it a bit more, actually. We just kind of went on a bit of a tangent about promoting and Bath and venues and all that sort of stuff, but super interesting conversation. We did actually speak about it a bit more, not to be that guy, but we did speak about it a bit more further in the final half an hour that's available over on the Patreon. So if you want to hear a bit more about the process behind Illegal Edits 3 and a bunch of other super secret Patreon stuff that only members of the Belters Club are able to access, then head over there now to patreon.com/Belters and join the Belters Club for £5 a month. And you get a bunch of wicked stuff. Like I said, there'll be some music going out there soon for the Patreon heads and a few other projects that I really want to get started in the next few months, but I'm not going to say them out loud yet because I don't know if I actually have the brain capacity to juggle them all at once. But anyway, I'll leave you to the rest of your day now. I hope you enjoyed our conversation with DJ CDQ. Thank you for listening to Chatting Breeze, and I'll see you here next week, suckers. Okay, bye.